Good morning all. Thank you so much for joining myself to come and talk to you today at the virtual village hall. I'm so pleased that I can be part of this well-established and important forum, and hope that what I've got to share is of interest and maybe even results in you taking some action. Sof, could I have the first slide, please? Fabulous. Okay. So as you can see on the slide, my name is Jo Giles and I'm Cadent's Customer Safeguarding Senior Manager. I'll explain a little bit more about my job as I go through my presentation. But hopefully you might already have seen Cadent in this year's Royal Voluntary Service Stay Safe, Warm and Well, the 2023-24 guide, which was launched in November. The details in there relate to some of the advice and support that Cadent provide around safety. Well, I was then asked to also join and tell you in a little bit more detail as to why this advice and the safeguarding services developed around it is something that you should all know about. But first, let me start a little bit about who Cadent are. Sof, could I have the next slide, please? Fab. So, beautiful Cadent van here. Cadent are what is known as a gas distribution network. One of the things I found working in the industry is we do like an acronym. So if you ever hear anybody talking about a GDN, it could well mean a gas distribution network. What this means is that, okay, we don't own the gas that you might use in your home. That's your suppliers who you pay, but we are responsible for the safe transportation through our network of pipes to deliver the gas that you use in your home. We own and safely operate 4 out of the 8 gas networks, which happen to be across England, Wales and Scotland. And Cadent's networks cover those of you who live in the northwest of England, the West Midlands, what's called the east of England. So that includes all of you in the East Midlands and East Anglia, and then North London. In total, we have over 11 million households and businesses that we safely transport gas to, meaning that you can heat your homes, cook your meals and have hot running water. To support this, we've got thousands of colleagues working around the clock to provide homes in our networks with a 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year gas emergency service, as well as working to replace pipe work to create a resilient and safe network, along with connecting new customers to the network, allowing them to benefit from the most effective way of heating your home. But I'm here today to talk to you about what we term as customer safeguarding, and namely the Priority Services Register, or another acronym for you, PSR, which you might have heard about already. But you might be wondering what the PSR, the Priority Services Register, has to do with a gas distribution network. Due to the nature of our works, it means we have to enter people's homes, and therefore we see life happen. It puts us in a really privileged position, seeing more than maybe your local GP does. And to ensure that we can keep our customers safe, warm and independent for longer in their homes, it means we need to support both our colleagues to respond to what they find on the doorstep, as well as customers to know how they too can be more resilient. We do this in lots of ways, and I'll hopefully be invited back to talk to you again about other elements of our customer safeguarding strategy. But for today, I'm going to keep things close to home for you and talk about something that every single one of you on this call should be aware of. Sof, could I go to the next slide, please? The question here on the slide. So before I go into that question on the slide, I've got a few questions for you on the audience. Now, I'm sure you didn't expect any audience participation, but we like to keep it, mixed up. I don't know if any of you are sort of be comfortable using emojis that are possible on this platform. But if you're not, feel free to, at home, just be virtually raising your hand to think about the questions I've got for you. If there are any emojis, who knows, the screen could be really colourful. So here we go, just a short number of questions for you before I describe what the Priority Services Register is. So how many of you here on the call already know what the PSR is? I wonder if maybe there's a few hands going up. So aside of that, how many of you here in the virtual village hall maybe are registered yourself on the PSR or know somebody who is registered upon the PSR? Again, hands up. Now here's a question for all of you. Who here has got the honour of knowing somebody who's fiercely independent, but maybe not as sprightly on their feet as they used to be? I know that I absolutely had the privilege and continue to have the privilege of people in their 90s living very independently. And, you know, it's not about, you know, sort of understanding what limitations might be. It's understanding how we can keep those individuals safe, warm and independent in their home. Now, who here also knows somebody who's maybe got failing eyesight, or their hearing is less accurate than they or you would like it to be? I know that there are a few people I need to talk loudly to and a little bit slower to, because when your hearing is starting to reduce, it can be very difficult to stay connected. Final question for you, and this is quite a big question. So who here knows somebody who's maybe going through treatment for cancer? Maybe you know somebody who's got electrically medical equipment that they rely upon at home, maybe home dialysis, a stair lift or an electric bed. Or maybe you know somebody who's living with a breathing condition such as chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder, COPD, or they're living with dementia. I'm sure by now lots of hands are going up, because we all live in communities with friends and family that mean that we care, and therefore we know how life impacts. Now, if there are any listeners who haven't raised their hand so far, either physically or virtually, then do think about those family, friends and neighbours, those that you do care about. Wouldn't you prefer that they receive a knock and wait at their door when an essential service provider like Cadent actually arrive at that door, or a password for security? The Priority Services Register is about providing meaningful, deliberate and respectful actions. It's free to join, importantly, and whether in our business as usual, or actually as things happen these days, when we get severe weather incidents, or let's face it, a pandemic, provide in a way that we know support is needed to safeguard due to access, safety or communication needs. That's what the Priority Services Register provides. It's self-resilience for households, reassurance for families, and a consistent approach so that the energy and water colleagues can be trained to support individual needs as they go about their work. Small examples might include the fact that Cadent across our workforce are trained annually upon safeguarding tools and techniques, such as the use of translation services on the doorstep, including British Sign Language. There are also an army of dementia friends. Thousands of our colleagues are all trained to be dementia friends. When we enter into somebody's home, we see life happen. We want to make certain we can make a difference, and where it's not in our skill set or remit, we work with partners, their referral partners or charity partners, to develop pathways to connect people to support any support that's needed. So I just want to ask all of you, do you know or should be aware of anybody who probably should be signed up to the Priority Services Register? This is your takeaway moment. Please talk to them about it in a trusted conversation. You as a friend, you as a family member, you as a son, you as a grandson, a granddaughter, a niece, whatever it happens to be, talk to them about it in a trusted way, because it's so important that there is this proactive opportunity to know that there are needs that we can support. People can register in many different ways. If you happen to live on one of Cadent's networks, you'll see a QR code on the screen here, and you could utilise that. However, if it's easier for you to actually phone, then again, there's a free phone number on here or an email address. The free phone numbers you'll see is the 0800 389 8000. That number will take you through to colleagues of mine who will help your loved ones register. You can also talk to your energy suppliers, your water company, your electricity network. It's the same register when we're talking about the Priority Services Register. That one registration means that we all know how to best support somebody based on their need. And remember, all of this could be something that you could benefit from. Let's face it, we all try to be strong and think that it's not about us, but it could be. After all, I didn't think that I'd be rushed in for heart surgery in lockdown, but I was. And that's after being a runner for many years and trying to live healthily. Making certain that we understand that being on the PSR does not label you. It means that you can stay safe, warm and independent in your home for longer. It truly counts. Sof, could I have the next slide, please? Listen, I wanted to share with you the Cadent definition of vulnerability, just so you can understand a little bit about where our strategy is built from. Importantly, this was co-created with our customers, colleagues, stakeholders and charity experts. You'll see as you read it that we recognise that vulnerability is something that can affect all of us. The priority services and everything we do to safeguard households recognises that life isn't straightforward. Vulnerability can be temporary or long-term, and it recognises that our adaptations to our services and products can make a difference to how customers engage with us, or how we need to support them. So again, vulnerability is not a label. Vulnerability is what happens when we find ourselves in a situation we didn't or couldn't plan for, such as your gas or electricity being off or your water being interrupted. As many people have found more recently, during external factors, these can impact us all, and those who are admirably coping might now be impacted more than others. Importantly here, it's really key to flag that sometimes inaction is just as important as action. We need to make certain that what we do doesn't negatively impact customers maybe living with mental ill health, cognitive impairment, or those on the autistic spectrum. Let me give you a tiny example here. So within our works, let's say we are called out to your property because you have smelt gas. We will arrive and we will make that situation safe. That might mean we need to isolate your gas boiler or whatever the situation is within your property. One of the things that Cadent do is provide what's known as additional welfare products. So these are items that we will provide, again, free, to ensure that you can stay warm in your home until the gas can be switched back on. These products are not just about warmth, they're about cooking, they're about hot water. So very much about welfare. One example happens to be what's known as a heated seat cover. These are fabulous where people have low mobility and can't move around to keep warm if the heating's not on. Well, yes, of course, we can provide things like a heater to keep them warm in a room, but that's not the same as your central heating. And if you're sat still, then that's really difficult to keep warm. So one of the items we provide is a heated seat cover. The heated seat cover we provide is known as the Be Warm. It's a fabulous product. It's fabulous for the fact that it automatically switches off when it's been on for long enough, so it's safe. It really uses a minimal amount of electricity, so it doesn't cost a lot of money to run. And it actually works, so it fits on your chair and heats you from the back of your neck all the way down to the back of your shins to ensure that your core temperature is actually so much better than it would be if you were just trying to sit there with a blanket over your knees. Really great for those with low mobility. There are some examples, however, when we won't give these out. An example would be on the list here, maybe somebody living with dementia. I don't know how many dementia friends or colleagues we've got, champions out there on this call. But for those of you that don't know, there are certain things when people are living with dementia, we need to try and help reduce and support the exposure to. And one of those things is that for certain types of dementia, a block dark colour, which is what the Be Warm blanket happens to be, can look like a vacuumous hole. So somebody with the brain disease of dementia, that's what their brain is telling them, that it is a hole. So to put a Be Warm blanket on the favourite chair of somebody is not the right answer, because not only will they be cold because they won't be sat on it, but they won't have the comfort of sitting on their favourite chair. So action and inaction, there's lots and lots of examples, but that's just one, really important. I think the thing is here, it's about having a great care and a greater understanding of life situations. It's about what's going to allow us not only to do the best job possible, but also mean that our workforce is supported when they come across some of the most vulnerable situations that you can imagine. Could I go on to the next slide, please, Soph? Now, the PSR is very close to my heart, and there's no pun intended there, I promise you. And it's there because I've led the utility industry for many years to help evolve and deliver what you see today, what is the Priority Services Register. But that drive to want to do things better continues, and this is where innovation also comes in. So I've used the word deliberation or deliberate innovation on the slide here. It's key for you to realise that we need to understand what it is that we're trying to solve when it comes to different vulnerable situations and how something can potentially help maybe millions of people. setting the scene for an innovation which is newly on the market and be available early 2024, meaning that we can provide and fit this free of charge, initially by Cadent, but also as the year continues across the remaining gas networks. And that referral will happen through a form on our websites, but also via partners, those referral and charity partners. I want to help you see how the PSR doesn't just help mean that we keep on doing the same thing. Sometimes we can use the categories on the Priority Services Register, and those categories are known as needs codes, to drive the need for some new ways to safeguard. Let me just give you an example here and we'll work it through. Can we go on to the next slide, please, Sof? Lovely, thank you. Now, you'll remember me saying that Cadent runs the gas emergency service. This is where people can call when they smell gas. You'll see on the slide here that the number slightly chopped off, which is really unfortunate on the slide you're seeing, but it's 0800 111 999. And I believe that that's also being put in the chat as well for you. So should somebody smell gas or so have a suspected gas leak or their carbon monoxide alarm is sounding, please phone that number where you'll gain safety advice and be stepped through the best next steps until we can get to you. So when it comes to innovation, it does need to be needs driven and it needs to be relevant and respectful in its action. So this call coming into the gas emergency service number, one of the things that we will be asked to do is turn off what's known as the emergency control valve. And that's ECV, another acronym for you, I did say. So the emergency control valve, if you've ever looked at your gas meter in your meter box, you'll see a big red handle. And the idea is that you turn that to the off position and that stops gas coming into your property and makes you safer until we arrive. Now, that's great, but of course there might be certain needs where individuals could struggle on achieving that action of turning a handle off. You've got just a few listed here. Restricted hand movement, somebody living post-stroke, physical impairment, sight impairment. It's not just about turning the handle off, it's being able to reach it to turn it off and stay steady as you're doing that. So with all of this in mind, I'd like to just take you through some facts on the first couple of bullet points here. So Sof, could I just ask you to go on to the next slide, please? So did you know? So approximately 4.4 million people in the UK have got X-ray evidence of moderate to severe osteoarthritis in their hands. This isn't just people thinking they've got pain, this is X-ray evidence. And importantly, again, this is always about blowing myths. It's not all about age. You know, situations happen throughout life. And you'll see here as well that there is a younger age group that also have this severe osteoarthritis in their hands. Moving on to living post-stroke, 1.2 million people living in the UK post-stroke, with an extra 100,000 being added every year. Well, as you'll see here on the slide, a quarter of all stroke survivors in England, Wales, Northern Ireland actually live alone. And more than 3/4 of all of those stroke survivors also then report arm weakness, which can make it really difficult for people who carry out daily living activities, washing, dressing, the simplest things. So just going back to the fact that we'd be asking somebody to turn off their emergency control valve, osteoarthritis, post-stroke, lots of other needs is going to be really tough for them. So for that, we needed to come up with a solution. So we have worked with a design house known as Oxford Gas Products through our innovation processes to evolve a new product. And I would like, if Sof, you can go on to the next slide, to share with you what that looks like. Fabulous, thank you. So let me just share with you a few of the benefits of the EasyAssist Emergency Control Valve. So actually, I live like Blue Peter. I've got one here. It's one I made earlier, literally. So this here, you'll see that it's kind of, you know, this is the original emergency control valve. So it retrofits, it fits over the existing ball valve. So that's brilliant. What that also means is that once it's fitted in there, I'm holding this up the wrong way. Once it's fitted in there, then you've kind of got the press button here to mean that actually you can activate the handle. Now this is only a demo, this isn't a real one. So if I press the handle, not a lot happens. But actually, as you'll also see, there is this self-writing label. On the button here, stop, it's also got Braille for anybody who needs to know what that says. But importantly, on the self-writing label, clearly got that 0800 111 999 number to ensure people know that's who they call when they have got a gas emergency. You'll notice it's a yellow label and the number is black, bold black writing on a yellow background. Myself included, with your eyes, as your eyesight is maybe not as good as it used to be, this is the most accessible way for a very large majority of people to be able to read a number. So it's really key from an accessibility perspective. Now, there is also on here as well a little area where here we've got the heat activation. What this is here on the heat activation, this is a bit like you might get a sprinkler. So goodness forbid that there would be, but let's say there was a domestic house fire. What happens with this is that this melts at a much lower temperature than all the brass and everything else on here. So that will automatically melt and turn the handle to the off position. So it has additional built-in safety as well. And when it comes to my colleagues, you know, to retrofit this, it's not, it doesn't take hours to do. It takes less than 10 minutes to fit. So really important that this, along with other innovations, are brought into products and services that we provide on a daily basis. So this new innovative solution, through our innovation process, the gas industry will now be able to provide a better way to safeguard customers in their homes for free when you can't actually turn your ECV. I'm sure that there are lots of you who can see many more ways that this could be useful, but actually to have one of these fitted is absolutely key. Now, details on how you refer and request for an EasyAssist Emergency Control Valve will be launched early next year via Cadent's website and shared with partners, including Royal Voluntary Service, through things like the Virtual Village Hall. So do watch out on your social media platforms. But I would just like to say that as much as that is a new innovation, if you look on our website or if you talk to our partners about the safeguarding services we provide, there are so many others. Let me just share with you one other, which I think you might find really interesting. Again, this is free. So what that means is not just we give you the product, but the Gas Safe Registered Engineer, one of my colleagues, comes and fits it as well. So here we've got something known as the lock-in cooker valve. So anybody who has cooking on a gas cooker, if let's say you could be in a situation where you are a carer, it could be a live-in, or actually you're caring for your elderly parents and maybe they're living with dementia. This is a fantastic product because it fits onto the inlet into the gas cooker, and what it does is it provides control that somebody who maybe has loved and been fantastic at cooking all their life, they still want to cook, but now they're living with dementia. By the simple turning on and off of the gas to the cooker, when somebody is there to ensure that they're safe to use it, ultimately this provides a way to give, again, that resilience, that security for you, and that safeguarding action to allow people to stay in their home for longer. So the reason why this is so key is because actually somebody with dementia, they will maybe be on their own and think, oh, I'll just make myself a cup of tea. We're probably always pretty much going to remember how to make a cup of tea because we've been making cups of tea since we were a child. But the thing that we might not remember is that we now have an electric kettle, and it does sadly get put on the gas hob. So one of these will actually help prevent not just maybe the gas being left on, but also domestic fire as well. So we work, when I say about partners, we work with all of the local fire and rescue services across our geographic footprint. You might imagine that's quite a lot with a company as large as Cadent. I believe it's, at last count, I think it's 26, somewhere around there, local fire and rescue services. So it just kind of gives you a scale of where we're working to get these fitted. So please do go on our website and have a look if you believe that there's somebody who would benefit from this, maybe yourself as a carer. So it just gives you that peace of mind. So innovation, these new products are absolutely key. But again, innovation happens in many other ways. It's not just about a product. Sometimes it's about services that we provide and consistent approaches that we do. I did say I'd talk a little bit more about my role within Cadent, so not to give everything away, but if I do get a chance to come and talk to you again, then actually it'd be really great to talk about some of the work I lead, about how we can embed the Mental Capacity Act in our day-to-day work. So things that have already happened, we've been talking about it already. I did say it's like Blue Peter here. We did Dementia Friendly Utilities, which is a book for utilities to understand how to support customers better. And that was working obviously with Alzheimer's Society. And then we've also done Utilities Against Scams. And again, this is about us helping to take a stand to try and help spot, stop and prevent scams from happening. It's too easy, I'm afraid, for somebody to knock on a door and pretend they're from the gas board or the water board or the electricity board with a high vis on. So this gives companies ways to help support their customers to stand against that and keep people safe in their homes. That's a different presentation though, so don't worry. Sof, thank you so much. Could you go on to the next slide, please? Lovely. So I don't want to bombard you with loads of slides and presentation for today, because I know there's been a lot that I've spoken about, and I've asked you to take some actions to please just try and understand that the Priority Services Register is so beneficial for so many people, saying it's not about labelling people. But I wanted to wrap up and just talk a little bit more about Cadent. The great company, I wouldn't work for them if they weren't, but we work in so many ways that act as a force for good. And by always acting responsibly and working closely with customers and stakeholders, we aim to build trust and deliver social value in a way that we operate. And this is through social purpose ambitions. We want to make a real sustainable difference to our communities in a fair and inclusive manner. Our purpose is to keep people warm while protecting the planet by making things easier, fairer and greener for those living and working in our networks. So providing easier warmth, we can ensure everyone has access to secure and affordable heating now and in the future as well. And then by creating fairer opportunities, it allows us to boost social mobility and ensure that we're creating an inclusive culture with a diverse workforce in our own business, the supply chain and the communities that we serve. And our commitment to developing a greener society enables us to lead the way in the decarbonisation of the energy industry, working towards a thriving net zero future. We then also have charitable partnerships, for example, with our charitable partnership, the homeless charity Emmaus, our first-class volunteering scheme, where our employees are also benefit from match giving allowance. We support our colleagues to deliver these ambitions and contributing positively to our communities. Now, one thing I'd just like to say to bring this all to life, I was really touched this morning. I've watched a little internal video that my colleagues from Accounts Payable have posted. The PSR, everything we do to safeguard, everything we do to ensure that we are in a force for good, is ultimately driven through our people caring. And our Accounts Payable team this morning, I saw that they posted a video where they were singing a Christmas song. They weren't singing a Christmas song. They'd all learnt to sign that Christmas song as well. So you've got our Chief Finance Officer with all of our Accounts Payable team who have learnt BSL and have put themselves out there to wish everybody Merry Christmas in sign, because we not only need to ensure that we're being inclusive with our customers, but with our colleagues too. It's really amazing what you can see and what happens, but it's more amazing when you know it comes from a place that actually truly means something. And that's why we're so excited to work with Royal Voluntary Service and be here on the virtual village hall to come and talk to you about certain topics in bite-sized chunks, because there's a lot. But if you can consider the Priority Services Register first, just think about those friends, family members, neighbours that maybe you're a little bit concerned about, particularly as the nights are now really dark and it's cold. Maybe actually just talking to them again about the Priority Services Register is the thing that will make the difference. Sof, could we go actually to my last slide, please? So here we go. It just goes for me to say thank you for your time today and listening to what I've had to say. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here with you. And, so I make certain that I say it. We are so close. I really wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a safe and warm one too. And I hope that it might have given a bit of a chance that maybe I could come back and share some more things with you that you might be interested to hear about. But I just wanted to make certain that, you all had a view of what a simple thing is that we can all do to help safeguard those customers at home and keep them at home for longer. So that's the end of my slide. You'll be glad to hear. I didn't want to be deaf by PowerPoint. That's always the worst thing. But I'm just actually having a look to see if there are any questions at all that people might have. So just having a look. I've got one here. Thank you very much to Linda, talking about adult daughter is disabled and she really worries about her when she's out. So can't get to the meter, it's on the floor. Well, just to let you know, on the EasyAssist ECV, so as much as this has come in, there is a next version as well. A next version hopefully will be out before the end of 2024, where this button is taken with a cable, so actually it can raise where that happens to be. Likewise, there is always that positive action where if you were able to contact your supplier and sort of talk about access issues getting to the gas meter, then they can too also look to see about adaptations to bring the current emergency control valve up higher. So, do have a look at that as well. So that's just having a look. And is it the PSR? Is it available across the UK? So the Priority Services Register covers Scotland, England and Wales. It covers the 8 gas distribution networks, all of the electricity networks, all of the suppliers in that area. So that's kind of a key thing for you to know. The map here is purely what Cadent's networks are, but it is the whole of Scotland, England and Wales that are covered. Northern Ireland, so I believe Northern Ireland have their own version of a Priority Services Register, but as of yet, sadly, I've not managed to bring them in. So if anybody's got any contacts in Northern Ireland in networks or suppliers, please get them to contact me. I would love to include them. There's so much work going on to ensure that actually the PSR is more inclusive. And that means not just by getting the right people registered, but ensuring that actually we've got a full coverage. So it's a simple phone call. It's a simple process. And ultimately, this is, say, it's about those respectful actions. It's about ensuring that your loved ones are safe, or actually your loved ones knowing that you are. That's just as important. If there happens to be a gas outage or a power outage, that, is something that that people cope, we get on. But when that situation does change, we need to just have that like security blanket that actually this is there to support, not label. I know I've probably said that so many times. I'm just so aware that many people think, oh, the Priority Services Register isn't for me, I'm not vulnerable. No, I don't class myself as vulnerable either, but the reality is, if the heating was off, it would affect me with a heart condition. So people need to know that I'm here, and people need to know that I need some additional support. I don't normally, but actually in that situation I do. So please do, go and talk to your suppliers, and you can talk with your suppliers with your loved ones, on behalf of your loved ones. It's better we have the details than not, so that we actually can collectively improve what we do consistently to really provide that safety net. Just having a look to see if there's any other questions that I've missed. I did say to the guys when I came on the call, it's fine talking on a presentation, but I'm not so good at looking at the questions. So just having a look here, I don't think I can see any more. Soph, I don't know if I've missed any at all, but I'm very pleased to see that there is also a comment on here as well by Jean that she's going on to gas soon. Fabulous. That's really great to hear. So I don't think I've got any other questions, and I've done things in super quick time. So just if there are any other questions at all, I could be giving you all half an hour back. What a lovely Christmas present. Please do take it though, that this is about being human. This is about being, thoughtful of others, and that PSR conversation can make the difference at times. And at times it is the difference between life and death. So please do get on to your supplier, your electricity network, your water company, Cadent. Just talk to us and we will help you register. So I think I'm back to the Virtual Village Hall colleagues now to see if there's anything that I've missed. Hopefully not. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to all of you. I hope what I've had to say is of interest. And, as say, those contacts, please do just give me a shout. It'd be lovely to hear from you. So thank you very much for your time, and I will let you get on with your very busy schedules before Christmas. So have a fantastic time. Take care. Bye.